The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. A young woman from India, an incredible theologian who is named Kokurani Abraham, tells of how the feast of the Assumption of Mary is perplexing to her because she found this wide gap between the glorified body of Mary in heaven and the bodies of women living here on earth. Many religions have had a derogatory impact on women. Many have denied female bodies, the capacity to represent the divine. In addition, women's bodily secretions, particularly the menstrual blood, is taken by many religions of the world to be highly polluting in places set aside as sacred. It is true of ancient Judaism, as exemplified in the powerful novel, The Red Tent. And in India, most of the Hindu temples deny women entry into the inner sanctum where the deity is placed. Even in Christianity, in many churches of the Eastern Rite, women are not expected to enter the Holy of Holies that is clearly set apart by a railing. And in our Catholic tradition, we only really recently, let women lead in the hallowed halls of the Vatican. Thank you, Pope Francis. To me, this practice is exceedingly offensive, as female bodies are still seen through the lens of purity pollution set by too many religions. It is a global reality that the female body has become a site of violence. In many parts of the world, women are mere bodies to be taken for granted, to be trafficked, to be violated, to be objectified, and even sacrificed in families, often for the satisfaction of male pleasure. Due to the high risk of sexual violence, she went on to say, a poll of global experts held earlier, just 2 years ago, named her India the most dangerous country for women. Is it any wonder then that women themselves tend to devalue their bodies as decorative objects? Is it any wonder that too many women measure their worth by body type and by youth? Is it any wonder that women mutilate their bodies because they are ashamed? It is against this background that we celebrate the Feast of the Assumption this morning, because it is imperative that women reclaim their sacredness as embodied persons. I propose to you the image of the embodied Mary in heaven is subversive. I propose to you that the image of the embodied Mary is a subversive doctrine of our church, as it offers an enormous challenge to the gender politics of our day, especially of religion itself. Carl Jung, I'm sure most all of you have heard of him, the great psychologist back in the 50s, who was no Catholic himself. Carl Jung wrote that the doctrine of the Assumption of Mary was the most important doctrine in Western civilization because it raised the feminine into the mystery of God. It raised the feminine body into the mystery of God. With this doctrine that was proclaimed just a year before I was born, the feminine body was raised to the divine presence. Assumption is not a privilege for Mary alone. For me, Assumption is important because it affirms the divinity of a female body. It's personal and it's political. What is personally attributed to Mary has a political significance for women today, the women we love, men and women loving women. The women we love, it has a huge significance for how we see them today. And so contemplating the divinity of Mary's body on this feast invites us to affirm our full humanity, bodies included, as radiating the divine. To celebrate this feast together here today is subversive. This is an act of liberation for women. And to celebrate this here today, this morning, is an act of liberation for all of us.